Attention! The podcast you are about to hear is a candid discussion of current events in comic books and the comic book industry in general. It may contain any or all of the following: spoilers, inappropriate language and or inappropriate discussion, opinions you do not agree with, fact mixed with opinion, and or incorrect information. If at any point you feel offended or outraged, please try to remain calm. Thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Beecroft, and welcome to the 28th episode of the Full Grown Fanboys podcast. This week is my interview with Keir Lyles, another one of the up-and-coming artists we met at VA Comic-Con. He and his wife Megan are the founders of Apocrypha Studios, who publish the comics Fallen Angels, The Repellers, and Zoe Hawklight and the Space Rangers. I really didn't get to talk to Keir much at the con. It was my wife Rebecca who approached him about being on the show, and I just want to say I could not be happier that she did. He is such an awesome guy. He is personable and funny and super easy to talk to. We had so much in common, and if our schedules had permitted it, I would have spent all day just geeking out over Doctor Who and cartoons and games and comics. I told him that basically he has a standing invitation to come back on the show anytime. That's how much fun it was. It was a thoroughly enjoyable experience, and hopefully not the last. So as always, thank you for listening, and please enjoy episode 28 with Keir Lyles. Awesome. So, you know what I was noticing outside? They had like a Doctor Who art exhibit.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
You know, and I thought I saw on your Facebook, you a big Doctor Who fan?
Huge.
That's
Huge.
awesome.
Yeah, I've been watching Doctor Who since like 84, 85.
Oh, really?
Because like in Alabama, they had on our PBS station, it's like, dude, they just showed Doctor Who.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was funny because I didn't know anything about Doctor Who until I was reading like this old sci-fi magazine called Starlog.
Yeah, Starlog, sure thing.
And so it wasn't even an article. It was just picked, they had like, we have Doctor Who masks. And I'm like, what the hell is Doctor Who? And it was like, they had like a Davros mask and they had like the picture of the Daleks. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm just like, this looks friggin' awesome.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I talked to a friend of mine. I'm like, yeah, I saw this thing in this magazine on Doctor Who. He's like, oh, yeah, PBS plays Doctor Who every Saturday. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So,
yeah.
I started watching, like, I think Pyramids of Mars was the first one I watched.
Oh, man. So Tom Baker's your first Doctor?
Tom Baker's my first
that's
Doctor.
awesome. Me too. Yeah. Badass.
But, I mean, they ran through the entire run from Fourth Doctor. They went up through Peter Davidson.
Okay.
And then because, like, when they did a pledge drive, it's like they did a specific pledge drive for Doctor Who.
Yeah, they did that where I'm from too, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
exactly.
And there was this great heavyset lady who she was just so into Doctor Who, and she would wear the scarf and the hat.
Yeah,
No doubt.
She was just like psyched about it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So it's like, I got the chance like before, it became big for everybody.
Sure.
They got like every part they could for the first Doctor. Second, saw the whole run of the third.
Oh wow.
Fourth, fifth, sixth.
Oh
and then
wow.
Into seventh. So I was like,
that's awesome. Yeah. Wow. See, now we had the fourth, and they did like almost all of those.
Right.
And I think all of the Peter Davidson ones.
Right.
And we got a few of the Colin Baker.
Okay.
And then like really spotty episodes from Sylvester McCoy. Like I don't even think we got the whole
run.
season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they never went back. Like it really never took off where I was.
Wow,
I don't know if it's just
it might just be I don't know. It might just be the area. That's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
In Alabama, you would think there's not a lot of geeks down there, but there's like a ridiculous number. Because I mean, they even have like this big festival now called Phoenix Festival. Like
really?
Every year, yeah, it's like a sci-fi comic convention, and I think they have like 4 or 5 game stores down there.
Wow.
They have LARP groups. I'm like, dude, where was all this when I was living down here?
Yeah, right?
Oh
my God.
So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yes, I mean, it's like a huge like geek population in Alabama.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I'm from like Birmingham. So, it's kind of,
okay.
It's really kind of more urban.
Sure.
So, plus you got like 2 or 3 colleges there. So,
yeah. And, that area of the country kind of has a reputation, if you will, for
it has
being
a rep.
sort of,
yeah.
Well, I guess the word would be backward or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's a safe reputation.
I don't feel that way personally. I've met people from all over, but
right.
But definitely, you to say to Alabama to somebody, and they're like,
yeah,
really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like I told my wife, I'm like, I came up here, and this is the first. Well, other than because my dad's from like South Carolina, so
okay, sure.
He's used to farms and stuff. It's
sure.
Like I grew up in the suburbs. It's like I never saw a freaking farm until I came to Maryland. And I'm like, where the hell is my dad moving us to? This is ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's like, what you going to do?
Yeah, yeah. Wow. But, Doctor Who, I was so psyched to see that on your thing. I thought, oh, my God. Because, in the circle of friends that I have in Richmond, like nobody else is really into that as much.
Wow.
I mean, my family, my wife and son, but he had only started watching with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
So.
I think. Well, my son was around then, but he really didn't start because he's like 11 now.
Okay.
And I probably say like a couple of years ago, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of years ago, he was just like, bing, it's like, so now he's like a huge Doctor Who fan.
Oh, wow.
So he'll sit because, Hulu Plus.
Yeah.
So he'll sit and be like, hey, let's watch an old Doctor Who.
Oh, that's
great. So we'll
great.
sit and we'll watch like the old ones together as like, a geek family sitting around the old television watching
that's awesome.
Old school Doctor Who. So.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having appointment television with your kids is fun. Seriously.
Yeah.
We are big Arrow fans. Too,
oh, yeah. Big
and
time.
the world stops Wednesday at 8:00. Like nothing happens.
Yeah. Dude, I love that show so much.
Oh, it's so good, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I love that show so much.
And they're ramping it up with the Suicide Squad's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because I was telling my wife like that episode when it all was putting them together, and I'm like, oh, Suicide Squad, and she's like, that doesn't sound good. I'm like, you don't understand. It's not good, but it's awesome.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And finally, we're getting around to Black Canary being on the show,
and then you got Deathstroke, which is
when he put on the full armor again.
Yeah.
Oh man. My inner fanboy I
don't know if I should say this, but my wife, she's in love with the actor.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because he's from Spartacus, and she loved him in that.
Oh no, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was Crixus, one of the gladiators.
Okay.
But I mean, I was just like, dude, and especially like now, I'm like, dude, he looks like Slade freaking Wilson.
Yeah, he really does.
So
yeah. When when he's got the old mask, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the new when he got the full like modern outfit, I was like, oh my goodness.
There we go.
Yeah. And they're going to be having the Huntress on again with like a Birds of Prey kind of episode coming up.
I'm kind of psyched about that. So I'm just like,
my God, so good. That show is so good. Yeah, man.
Let me ask you this: What
Sure.
do you think about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
You know what? I'm on board.
Okay.
I've watched every one of them so far. I think it's not actually a lie. I missed the third episode, I think.
Okay.
But it wasn't. They were just setting it up still.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
I just like asking people that question because you get different. Some people are like, I don't see where it's going.
Yeah.
Or anything. And,
yeah.
Some people are like, oh, it's okay. So
I'm okay with this kind of
slow build. Yeah.
Where you don't see it coming. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I'll tell you what, when they spoilers for we don't really shy away from spoilers on the show at all.
If you don't know, you just suck.
There you go. That's our attitude. It's like if you aren't paying attention, then what are you doing?
Get out of here. Yeah.
What are you doing? The reveal with the is it a frost giant that they had in the
That's
tank?
what I'm trying to figure out. I've been debating this with my wife. I'm like, I think it might be Kree. I think it might be a frost giant.
Okay, I hadn't thought of Kree.
Yeah, it's like the
Okay.
first thing I thought was like, oh, that's a freaking alien. I'm like, who's blue? Well, the Kree.
Right.
And I'm like, since they're getting ready to go into Guardians of the Galaxy, but then again, they got, everybody's so hyped on Thor right now, so.
This is true.
Yeah,
that's
so-
true. It was nice to have the Sif cameo.
Yeah.
that was
yeah,
cool.
That was pretty sweet.
And Lorelai did not see that coming.
No.
Like, my son was convinced it wasn't the Enchantress. And I'm like, I don't know, man. She's
I
got
don't
red
know.
hair. Like, I'm not really buying it.
Yeah.
And then she said Lorelai, and I went, see? Oh, it was really good, though.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I kept saying to my wife, I'm like, dude, DC keeps saying they can't do a Wonder Woman show or anything. I'm like, this was a Wonder Woman episode.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it was awesome.
Exactly so.
Yeah.
Exactly so. And I never saw any of the footage. I mean, I saw, like, the little clips that they had of the one they tried to shoot, and it looked okay. How bad could it have been?
No, people would have watched it. That's the thing.
I would have watched it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like the old Flash show. I watched it. I was there like every Friday night watching
Oh,
that thing.
my God. Yes.
Yeah.
And that guy is actually going to turn up on the new show.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, he's going to be like a detective or something that the new Barry Allen's going to know. So,
okay.
yeah, a little
Nice
wink and a
little
nod.
throwback.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's good
cool.
stuff. And that was a great show.
Yes.
It was.
Yes, it was.
And I don't understand why it didn't last.
I know. And Mark Hamill as the trickster was
Holy cow.
friggin' awesome.
He is amazing. He's amazing whatever he does.
You know, that's a scary thing. Yeah.
He really-
Yeah.
Even you watch regular show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause my son got me in a regular show.
Man,
so.
you got to come to Richmond more often. You can come sit in with us anytime. Like you're
that'd
right
be
in our
cool.
sweet spot of
In
like
that
all the stuff that we like. Hell yeah.
It's kind of funny because like I go to, like the VA Comic Con, like the days, 1 day shows.
Yeah.
I'm there like all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I when did we start doing it? We really started doing it actually a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny because do you know Dan Noakes?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, Dan. Dan's a great guy. It's almost like a plug for Dan.
Sure.
But I mean,
sure.
he lives in Southern Maryland too.
Oh, okay.
He's been doing independent comics and stuff like that for about 10 years or so.
Okay, that's probably where I know. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean he's connected with a lot of shows, a lot of people.
Sure.
But yeah, he was like, hey, this is Virginia Comic Con. I'm like, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And so we go and didn't do too well. My wife was like, oh, forget this. We're not, not driving 2 hours and not making any money.
Fair enough.
And then it came through again. I'm like, let's give it a try, and it just keeps building. And I mean,
it really does. Yeah. It's kind of becoming a thing. Like they really have made it into a sort of an institution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
really nice.
They run a good show.
They really do. And you know what? Even though it's a little on the smaller side, I like the intimate kind of feel of it.
Yeah.
Where you don't feel intimidated to walk up to people. And
yeah.
there isn't huge lines. And, for instance, Herb Trimp was at the last one.
Yeah, I know. And he and his wife.
He was so awesome.
So cool. I know. I'm like,
Talked to him for, I swear, like 45 minutes. Me and my wife just stood and shot the shit with him about, he's from upstate and we're from upstate. And it was just great. It was
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
So he was just the nicest guy. Signed my my issue of Hulk 154.
Oh, nice.
It was, one of those, it was like one of my first comics,
yeah.
Yeah. So you were at VA Comic Con
yes.
With is it your studio?
Yes, it's actually kind of my wife and I. My wife, she's a writer.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, and basically, it's jointly owned by us. Independent, cool. Self-published. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been around for about probably 2014. Going on about 8 years now. 8, 9
Oh wow.
Years. Yeah.
Oh no kidding.
Yeah, it's like I always wanted to do it. I initially started doing web comics. In fact, my Fallen Angels comic started off for 8 years as a web comic.
Oh, that's great.
And from there, I just started, I just wanted to first just, do comics because, I had a day job at the time.
Sure. Working,
doing social work and stuff like that. And I was like, I've always wanted to do comics. But when I graduated college, going to my parents saying, hey, I'm going to do comics. That was like 97.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening.
Exactly so. I hear you.
Yeah. It's like, it's like I tell, because I teach too now.
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
And so, I tell the kids I teach, I'm like, it wasn't even an option, even when I graduated from college, because, you still had the big, honestly, kind of like the big three: DC, Marvel, Image.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Dark Horse.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe some independents.
Yep.
But I mean, there was a lot of people who were like, oh, I want to be a comic book artist too.
Yeah.
So especially, in the 90s, oh my God, anybody who had to pick up a pencil.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. So, just that as a realistic goal, especially right after college, it's not happening.
Sure.
So, I kept drawing and stuff like that. I put together some packages, but I never really sent them out because, I'd go to cons and I'd show people and they're like, oh, this is okay. And I mean, honestly, it was okay.
Sure.
So, I'd probably say like around 2005, I got hipped to the idea of webcomics.
Okay.
And, I never...
Well, that would be about right, because that's when the internet really started to be a thing.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you were right on that. That's cool.
It's like, and I never thought about it. And it's like, when I think about it now, I'm like, dude, I was like on the internet. Like, I mean, who wasn't on, even at that time?
Sure.
You were on the internet all the time.
Absolutely.
Just cause.
Absolutely.
And so, I was like, wow, that's a good point. I could try that. So.
Wow. Did you have, because that was before the days of broadband. So you were doing that all dial up?
Yeah.
Wow.
And some basic, because at the time, I think DSL was really just kind of, and so we had Comcast.
Okay,
so
all
luckily,
right.
because the idea of trying to do anything with dial-up,
oh my
that
gosh.
just to this day, it like, I'm like,
Well,
I
when
can't
you
even
said
think about that.
webcomic, and here I am thinking about upload times, I'm like, you just spend a whole day uploading whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, the interesting thing was, it's like, at the time even, there really wasn't anything that, online to say, hey, this is how you set up a webcomic, or this is where you should go to put it on. So I think I tried like a couple of sites, like I think Comic Genesis at the time.
Okay.
Smack Jeeves, like there were like all these collectors that were out there. I think some of them are still around.
Okay.
And I started initially. I was like, okay, I'm going to write this out, and I'm going to do this, and then as what tends to happen is like okay, I want to figure out how to make this the best thing ever. And then it just goes and goes, and you just never get anything done.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm sitting around and I'm like, screw it, I'm just drawing this thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I mean, that's what I did, and I scanned it, and found a site and put it on there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I'm a lot the same way, where I'll overthink an idea to death. And
yes.
you never even get started, because it's always like, oh, I could do this better. Or, yeah. I totally understand that.
Yeah, and that's a real hang up sometimes with me.
Yeah.
So
no doubt. So Fallen Angels, you said, right? Was the first
Fallen
one?
Angels,
and
was
that
the
was
first
like
one.
a wrestling based.
Yes,
comic?
it was a the gimmick of it was that it was a wrestling comic. Because at the time I was trying to think, I was like, I want to do something different that kind of stood out.
Okay.
And it's like, you know what? I like drawing chicks.
Sure enough.
I like wrestling.
Sure.
Because I'm a mook that way. I was like, saying, you know what? Why don't we just do a female wrestling comic?
Why not? Yeah.
So I did it, and I was like, I was like, who's really going to follow this thing? But, people started following it. And it was kind of funny because for a while I just kind of stopped doing it because my day job was just, I was doing so much stuff and I couldn't really focus.
Sure.
So I'm like, it's not really making money or any, I'm not getting any money out of this.
Right.
I'm getting people who like it.
Right.
But, I got to focus on what I'm doing.
Sure.
Family-wise. And it's funny because I would go to shows and there would be people like, hey, I was like, hey, my name's Keir, and they'd be like, hey, you're the guy who did, the wrestling comic Fallen Angels. And in fact, there's one guy, really cool guy, he does this comic called Rival Angels.
Okay.
And he really liked Fallen Angels.
Oh, that's awesome.
And because Fallen Angels was gone, because when I met him, he's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, are you going to start doing Fallen Angels again? He's like, he started Rival Angels because he missed Fallen Angels.
Wow, that is so flattering.
Yeah, and I mean, that just blew my mind. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's kidding me. But I'm like, he's freaking serious.
That's amazing.
So needless to say, hey, that's a good motivation to get back on the horse and start doing it again. Yeah. So
wow.
So I pretty much, I did Fallen Angels, still doing it.
Okay. I looked around, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's really not in like stores or anything right now.
Okay.
It's pretty much online because I have like the 0 issue out.
Right.
And what's really happening is I'm trying to get. It's like one of those cases where I'm burning so many candles at once.
Okay.
So it's like we have the 0 issue out, and you can find it on Indie Planet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As digital and print.
Okay.
And then I also have my sketchbook there as well.
Okay, I did see that a little bit.
Yeah, and in fact, if you go on my Facebook page, on the About section, actually I have the site where you can directly go to the comic.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I clicked around for a while. It just didn't occur
and that's
to me
the thing,
to find it there.
Because mostly I've been selling it just like directly.
Okay.
Kind of primarily get FaceTime with people.
Sure.
I'm actually do have it in a store. There's a local store here called Book Nuts.
Okay.
And they're like
I think I passed it on the way here.
Yeah, through White Plains. Yeah,
I did.
And they carry it there. I mean, they are like a used bookstore. People who run it, great people.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they carry a lot of local writers and artists. They carry their books.
That is really cool of them.
Yeah. And so I have friends locally, like even like Third Eye, and my friend runs Comics MD. And then there's a place in St. Mary's that's a comic book place.
Okay.
And of course, House of Pop Culture, which is in Pinefield.
All right.
And I have those places where I could do it, but I really want to have, other than just showing up like, hey, here's my 0 issue. Can you put it on there? Which I could. I mean, honestly, I could. But I want to get like, another couple of issues done before I just show up at their doorstep and say, hey, can you, sell my comic?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I've always been curious because I really don't know. What does it, money-wise, what does it take to publish a comic? How many do you have to do in a run, like that sort of thing?
That's actually the cool thing nowadays. That's really one of the better things.
Okay.
I mean, I do mine through Kablam.
Okay.
Okay, and the thing about them was they're print on demand, honestly.
Okay.
And so one of the things I kind of like about them, because you'll see, like when you go to cons, a lot of people will get them done through Kablam, but there's a lot of other sites also, and that's, it's one of the things that is really helping independent people. If you really want to make a comic, you can.
Okay.
Because you don't need that huge print run.
I see.
You don't have to order like 1,000 books and have them sitting somewhere
right.
in a closet.
Right.
You can actually just go on there and say, okay, you do all your pages, you upload the files to them.
Okay.
And then they will do both print and digital. So you can offer both ways through because they work with Indie Planet.
All right,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like Indie Planet's like their print on demand arm. So I mean, the cool thing with me is, I get the books at cost. So if I'm going, I know a couple of shows are coming up, I don't need to order like a lot. I just order like maybe 20, 50.
Okay.
And they're probably like maybe, like $1.50 each.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really good for people who want to do, a comic.
Yeah.
And it's easy. And the quality is excellent.
Wow.
And
when it's that easy, you got to wonder. Like I saw, there was a couple people that say even VACon who are doing like Kickstarters to get their stuff going.
Yeah.
And, something like that, it'd be really useful.
Yeah, and
save a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, Kickstarter is really good too, because
Kickstarter's good. Yeah,
yeah, because like I was saying, my friend Dan, he recently did an omnibus. He did a series of comics like back a while, and the anniversary came up, so he decided, you know what, I want to do an omnibus of this.
Okay.
So basically, he did a Kickstarter, and he was able to get a really nice print of them done. Plus, he had like me and some other artists. In fact, Bert and Lee. They did art also.
Oh, wow.
As pinups, because he had like a group of artists that do pinups in the back.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just Kickstarter is great for that, because a lot of times the truth of the matter is the biggest thing is, and I know especially I say it with the stuff I work on is, since I'm doing this kind of full time, it's just a matter of I kind of have to do things that pay the bills at the same time as the comics. The comics are doing well.
Sure.
And people are interested in my characters.
Sure.
But, like in between those times where I need, the time to get them done, get them printed, market, all that type of stuff.
Right.
I'm doing commissions, doing fan art, that type of thing.
Sure.
So sometimes that, my wife gets on me, and she's right that, it cuts into my time. So I have to organize my time a little bit better. But, a lot of times we have a lot of shows coming up, and a lot of the work that I do for my shows, like I do have some prints, but the thing I like to do is keep stuff as original as possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, I'm constantly churning out new stuff.
That's awesome.
So, but, no, I mean, it's so easy now if you, really want to make a comic. It's just a matter of sitting down, doing the artwork,
right.
the pages,
right.
and then navigating, finding, a good way to get them saved so they look good and sent to their printer, so it turns out the way you want it.
Right, right. Now, do you have to do them on like comic paper? Can you kind of send them anything?
Honestly, I pretty much do them on anything. And most people do, because I mean,
sure.
When I was doing Fallen Angels regular as a webcomic, I started, I want to do comic paper, but at the time, I honestly just did grid line paper.
Fair enough.
Because, it was just there.
Yeah.
And then, I would do some on regular paper. Because my initial idea, the old ones started off as like literally like comic strips.
Oh, okay.
So they were strip size.
Gotcha.
And then eventually I moved to like full comic pages.
Oh, okay.
So I could include more stuff. But it was also just a matter of confidence too.
Fair enough.
But I mean, even with like Kablam, I mean, as long as you get a good scan, and honestly, if you have like Photoshop or any of that, you can use almost anything, and then clean it up.
Right.
Afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean, technology is awesome. I mean, I tell people if it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
So
yeah. I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know Bert and Lee have a really large internet presence.
Yeah.
And that really works for, Tumblr is so awesome for that.
Yes.
I didn't really see a point to Tumblr until we started doing the podcast.
Yeah, it's like I never really, I was like, people kept talking Tumblr. I'm like, whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I probably should put some stuff on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's really helped because, that saves me time, if I'm showing people what I can do.
Absolutely.
So I can just put everything on there.
Absolutely.
And, and it makes a nice place, a nice place to go to just to see, oh, okay.
Exactly. It's like a portfolio wherever you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
The other comics that you're doing, the Repellers. I love the artwork for the Repellers.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me about that comic because
oh my god, yeah, the Repellers. I know my wife is looking at me now. The Repellers has been around forever. I came up with the idea in 8th grade, but when you're in 8th grade, you got all these different ideas hitting you.
I do.
Yeah, so it's like
I've got some old pictures even from back then, and you're like, really? This was the thing?
And it's like at the time it's like this is the greatest thing ever, and then you like look back and you're like, dude, he's like, I could get sued. This just sucks.
I remember one of my greatest ideas back then was that I was going to do a ninja character, except he wore green. That was like that
was the gimmick.
That was the hook. Yeah, it was like he was green. I was like, okay, but so 8th grade, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like I think back because I don't even know if I have some of the old pictures. But it's like the whole idea originally was I kind of wanted a Batman type character.
Okay.
But, I was at least smart to say, well, I want a Batman type character, but I can't do Batman. So, I'll just take away the cape, but I'll give him a long coat, All
right.
And, I don't want him to wear a cowl, but I'll give him sunglasses. And he doesn't have like a Robin, but he has like this chick that hangs around him.
Okay.
And he doesn't have a Batmobile, but he has a really cool car.
Fair enough.
So, when I really look at it, he was like, like Lorenzo Lamas and Knight Rider rolled together. With like BJ and the Bear. And I'm like, when I think back to him, I'm like, what was I smoking? But I'm like, I was in 8th grade, And as I was telling my wife, I'm like, dude, like the different incarnations this went through. It's like, originally he was a part of the Justice League. And then
really?
Then at one point he was like a Time Lord, and I was like going through all this stuff, and then you just reach a point where you're like, this is cool because by this time you've already generated all this stuff because you have all this kid energy.
Right.
You're a kid, so you're just churning stuff out.
Absolutely.
And so you don't care, and and your friends are like, this is awesome, churn, they're just cheering you on.
Right.
And then it's like, what ended up happening was we moved up here to Maryland because we were originally in Birmingham. My dad got transferred up here to Maryland, and you go into high school and you're like, okay, all that stuff was stupid.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. You're like, So the idea kind of like percolated and it's gone through different, ideas. But the basic idea of the Repellers is the main character, Shadow, he was an angel.
Okay.
And basically during the fall of the angels, he was persuaded by Lucifer to join, and I'm going to emphasize it, join her side.
Okay.
Because in my cosmology, she's a female.
That's really cool.
And so basically he joins, he was in love with her, and he was originally supposed to be he was like the guy who trained the angels. So he was like just ridiculously bloodthirsty and just, he stormed the walls of heaven and all this type of stuff. And
that is great. That is
he realized, oh damn, this chick, she's just after power because it's like a, daddy thing, screw you, God,
I'm with you.
She's like a spoiled brat.
Okay.
And so he, last minute he makes this change, but then you go through the whole fall thing. He gets sent to Earth, and God's pretty much like, okay, you get a second chance. Basically, I'm going to here's what's going to go happen. There's something else, basically in this cosmology, you have the devil, but she's not like the end all be all bad.
Okay.
Basically, what's the true big bad of this whole thing is the actual darkness that existed before God created the universe.
Wow. Okay.
And it's basically, kind of pissed off because, this used to be mine, and now, all this crap is here. And so it's trying to seep in.
Okay.
So God's like, here's the deal. You're kind of like my loophole. It's like, I kind of made all these rules and all these covenants. Angels can't do this. Demons can't do this. We can't touch human, da-da-da-da. It's like, when it comes down to it, you're the one who's pretty much the enforcer.
Oh, wow.
And he's, and so basically, in the history of it, it's like, the people who were like gods and all the like myths and stuff, they were actually people who were granted some power, and he would lead them. In fact, like Ragnarok happened, and it was like a mixture of like, people who you thought were like Thor and all this. It's like more of like a mixture of like the Greek gods and African gods and Norse gods. All those were actual people. And in some cases, they had like different names as they traveled around, protecting people.
Wow.
And then they just like got wiped out under his, basically to prevent the end of the world. He pretty much lost everybody.
Wow. Okay.
So he just kind of wanders the earth for a long time. And in modern day, he basically finds out, okay, there's a new group of, I guess you could say like new gods coming. And, I'm going to pull them together again. We're going to do this differently.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to be so headstrong. We're going to kind of keep to the shadows. When things happen, we'll do it, but we're not going to align ourselves with anybody. We're not going to go for, we're not going to let ourselves be seen.
I see.
So we can be targeted. And so the main thing of the book is it really deals with, 'cause I love horror stuff. I love H.P. Lovecraft stuff.
Absolutely.
So, you got like the, some Cthulhu stuff in there.
That's great.
You got a little technology in there. I kind of wanted to design it so that anything that I kind of thought of, do I want to do a horror thing? Do I want to do a sci-fi riff? I can kind of do.
Yeah.
And
No, that's a great idea.
So like it's a modern day thing, but there's some theology stuff in there.
Yeah.
But it's like, I like turning things on its head.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. I'm on board. Like I'd buy it right now. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so
I'm totally in.
The reason I was looking at my wife was because, like I said, I've been thinking about this thing for the longest time. I've told so many people about it. In fact, I even, I pen and paper role play.
Oh, yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Okay. So we used to role play, I role play out the storylines to figure out what I was going to do.
Oh, wow.
And so everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to see this as a comic. And now, mind you, this was like back in high school. And it's like now I'm like 40 years old almost. So now,
Fair enough.
I think the main thing was, like you said, you think things through too much. And it's like, this has kind of like been my baby for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm going to throw it out there, I want it to kind of be good.
Well, and it's changed so much.
Yeah,
it sounds like,
exactly.
from
It's
the
changed a lot.
original idea.
And then, as you grow up, you get more ideas and you kind of figure out. I think now is the time for me to do it.
Sure.
Because I kind of know who I am as a person.
Sure.
And what I want to say through the characters. So,
That's
now
awesome.
I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it like kind of bits and pieces. And initially my plan was, okay, I'm going to do it. I had it as a webcomic on Drunk Duck.
Okay.
As well as Fallen Angels. But I really want to now kind of go on my own instead of like kind of connecting it with them. And so I put it on my Tumblr.
Yep.
And then my wife was like, well, why don't you just go ahead and make it a book? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah. I was like, I keep taking these baby steps. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and jump full hog into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have it printed?
Not yet. Still
Not yet.
working on it.
Still working on it.
And my goal is I'm trying to get some of these, I know you're going to ask me about Zoe Hawklight.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Zoe I'm trying to get out for AwesomeCon.
Okay.
Because since it's going to be more all ages, a lot of people have been hitting me up, and they like the design of the character. So
I absolutely love the design of the character.
So I kind of want to get that out. And then with the Repellers, I want to take my time. So probably like after AwesomeCon, it'll be coming out. Probably around, because I'll probably say around May, because that's when XCon is. I see you crossing your fingers, honey.
So I guess my last question about that, though, would be, where does the name, the Repellers?
That's stuck since 8th grade.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like one of
Fair
those
enough.
things. It's like, when you're sitting there trying to figure out character names, or like team names, you're like, oh, I want something cool. And it's like, I'm thinking I remember at the time I'm thinking, well, you have Justice League, but you have like the Defenders and you have the Avengers, just kind of like, oh, like that punch.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, they repel things. They're the Repellers. And it's like, there have been times when I'm like, that's kind of a stupid name.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's a stupid
No,
name.
I mean, it works, and it's like, it fits. The more and more I think of it, it just works.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see, like, if I were to change it, it just wouldn't be the same,
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough. And sometimes it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, and
It's
sometimes,
just,
it doesn't
call
have
the
to be
Repellers,
like,
deal with it.
yeah, it's like, it doesn't have to be like uber cool,
I understand.
ultra cool, ultra chic,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to run this through like a test group,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just like,
If it makes you happy, then that's really all that matters.
Yeah, it makes me chuckle. So,
and like I said, I saw the artwork for it. I used it for the ad that we put
yeah,
up on.
I appreciate that.
And I loved it. I loved the character design. I thought it was awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, okay, I want to get into Dungeons and Dragons, if that's what you play, but role playing anyway.
Yes, sir.
But Zoe Hawklight.
Zoe Hawklight. I want to do an all ages thing.
Okay.
Because the funny thing is, I mean, I have a lot of people who like my other stuff. I tend to do adult stuff just because I like, it's just easier to come up with stories. And so what happened was I wanted to do a sci-fi type of thing.
Sure.
And this kind of stemmed from, I mean, I love like the old Flash Gordon, the 80s movie, yes.
Oh, heck yeah.
Anything Flash Gordon, I love.
Oh, my God.
The old Hal Foster Flash Gordon stuff.
Okay.
And even like the old serials, like Buster Crabbe.
Oh, my
old
gosh.
Buck Rogers stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
I loved that, just the 50s kind of, 50s, 70s sci-fi, generic, what they thought the future was going to be aesthetic.
I know. Fins and chrome. Yeah,
exactly.
No, absolutely.
And so I'm just like, and Adam Strange is like one of my favorite, DC sci-fi characters.
Awesome. And he's coming back.
Yes, I know. I'm
nice.
Excited about that.
Nice.
But so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do like a sci-fi type of thing. And initially, there's this thing in October every year called 24-hour comics book day.
Okay.
Okay. And the basic gist of it is for 24 hours, you create a comic. And
wow.
You basically just sit for 24 hours. There's no pre-planning except what's in your mind. You don't have like any thumbnails or anything.
Okay.
You was basically, when the clock strikes, boom, you just start going for it and get as many pages as get as many pages done as you can. And so during one of them that I did, I basically did this kind of sci-fi thing, and I never got to like the main hero person because I had been drawing this kind of like Buck Rogers kind of guy all this time.
Okay.
But I ran out of time, and so when I will go back and look at the designs, I'm like, I think I'm going to make him a chick.
That's awesome.
And so basically the idea behind Zoe Hawklight is, it's pretty much, that type of thing. It's just old-fashioned sci-fi. There's no explanation.
Sure.
It's just that, the Jim Kirk type of thing is like, oh, yeah, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, can we shoot him, punch him? Yeah, do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, it's kind of that idea. And the idea is like, you have this group of rangers who basically they were the idea is that Earth has been invaded from the inside, kind of like the War of the Worlds thing with the Tom Cruise movie.
Okay.
And it's like, these aliens, they've been on Earth the whole time, and they basically invade from within.
Oh, wow.
Force humanity out.
Okay.
And completely out of the solar system, and so they've been fighting to get back all this time.
Oh, wow.
And then they win, but now they have all these colonies out there. Earth is pretty much just kind of there.
All right.
But, people go, you can't afford it, you go to Earth. Earth is like, kind of the new slum, but they're trying to rebuild it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so the Rangers are kind of like just a group of like, they're like colonial Marines / space cops.
I gotcha.
They kind of try to keep things on the up and up. And so, but I mean, I'm not trying to get too grim and gritty or like Wayland Yutani.
I think that's a great idea, especially for an all ages comic.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong. Harold and I have talked about this. We're challenging young people in that way. You can do adult themed material and not in an adult way.
Yeah.
Look at like Adventure Time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where there are some really heavy things going on in that
show. Yeah.
And you also have farting. So
exactly.
It works for everybody.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because my wife told me, I keep mentioning my wife a lot just because my wife means a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, she's my partner and my buddy. I'm not just saying that because she's sitting right here. But
I absolutely. My wife is an integral part of the podcast.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, that's like my wife. I mean, I owe her a lot in where I am right now. Because I mean, for any person to support, basically saying, one day. I mean, she literally came to me one day because I did social work for so long and it was driving me crazy. But you're a guy, so you're like, dude, I'll suck it up. I got to.
Right.
Right. And so she's just like, what? It's driving you crazy. You know what you want to do. She's like, if you have a plan, if you want to do it, let's do it.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And so like I set myself a 5-year goal, and so far things are going well. I'm on the 3rd year and things are moving along. I mean, when you start doing this, you don't expect to become like, you're not going to be Jim Lee overnight. Jim Lee wasn't Jim Lee overnight.
Absolutely.
So
I loved it a little while ago. I don't mean to interrupt, but
no.
a little while ago, Jim Lee posted a rejection letter from DC Comics.
Oh, is it the one about the hands?
On Twitter. Yes.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yes.
Loved it. And I thought, who's laughing now?
You know, thank you very much. You know.
So I'm sorry, you had your 5-year plan, and
yeah, and I'm like on the 3rd year, and things are going well. I mean, it's just a matter of working, towards it.
Sure.
But
on average, like, how long do you spend a week
doing stuff?
Doing actual artwork.
Doing actual artwork. But basically, what I do is I set at least about 8 hours during the day because I try to do stuff at home.
Sure.
But depending on what's going on, like if there's a show coming up, I got to make stuff.
Sure.
If I'm working on commissions and things like that. That's going to take some time, especially because I do digital coloring too.
Okay.
And because I do traditional with markers and stuff like that.
Yep. Watercolor.
But, of course, if I'm going to do a comic, as I tell people, or a print, I really want it to be the digital colors.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and that takes a while. I mean, I've gotten much faster because I remember when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this. And so I sat, and my wife can attest to this, I sat on Photoshop for like 6 hours. Because I could do the basics, at first, but I didn't understand the whole flatting things and like putting in big blotches of color and all that type of stuff. I was literally just going in with like the pen tool and the brush tool and
like the paint bucket.
Yeah, just like I was like do, just
I totally understand.
And so I was like, you know what, this is stupid because I'm never going to get anything done. So I just need to sit down, learn how to do it. 5 hours later, after cursing and yelling at my computer, I got it.
No doubt.
But I mean, and that's part of it too. I mean, honestly, I'd probably say like on a regular basis, part of not just working on stuff is, actual stuff I'm going to produce and sell or, whatever.
Right.
It's also a part of learning how to use certain tools, learning how to use different, especially, different things on the internet.
Sure.
Different sites, social media, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like my average day, like I try to set where, okay, I take my wife to work, I take my son to school, and then I'm going to start drawing. But sometimes it starts earlier than that now because I'll get like a messenger, first thing in the mornings, sun pops up so that I hear ping.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm being pinged, first thing in the morning. In fact, last night I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and it was like midnight. And I got like 4 or 5 pings, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to look at them. I'm like, I can't pause this thing. I'm playing.
Right, right.
But I mean, it's just part of setting up a discipline. That just even days where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this. I got to do it. I got to do at least something.
Right.
Maybe sketch something.
Right.
And then the other big part of it is the marketing and the promo and networking and stuff like that. I mean, I think a lot of people miss that is the biggest portion of it.
I absolutely agree. I spend way more time than I want to doing sort of, the internet thing, doing Facebook and doing Tumblr and doing Twitter and all that kind of thing. And it's this was supposed to be kind of a once in a while kind of fun time sort of thing, and it's literally become like a part-time job. That's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing,
but it is a true thing where now I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the same way because and I think that the truth of the matter is like a lot of people don't see the amount of work that especially even what you do, putting together a podcast. They don't see the work. They just figure it's kind of a hobby thing.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a lot of work.
It is. And although we don't make any money from it, it's a labor of love. You know what I mean? It's something that I love podcasting and just so I totally understand. Totally, absolutely, no doubt. Okay, so now we'll get around to role playing.
Yes, rolling dice.
This is another thing I don't get to talk about on the podcast because my co-host has nothing. Like, nope, just doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. He's been invited. But
I can imagine just from listening to the podcast how that conversation went.
I was like, please do it. You would be so hysterical. That's what it always comes down to.
Yeah,
because I think there'd be a certain comedic element to having somebody who has no concept of like anything going on, and it wouldn't be to make fun of him.
No, it would just be great. It would make the game great.
Right, it would just break it. Like, why can't I punch this person in the face? You'd be like, well, because.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Roll some dice.
Yeah.
So what do you play?
Oh, right now, Doctor Who.
Okay, is that good?
You know what? It is a good game.
Is it really?
And here's the thing: I've been a GM for so long. And a gamer, I just have this habit of if I get a game, I have to tinker with it. Even though the system is good, I have to tinker.
Sure.
And so I had been wanting to run a Doctor Who game for so long, and it took me a long time simply because I'm like, I read the system and I was like, oh, this is okay. I can make it better.
All right.
And months later, after doing my wife can attest because she plays in the game. After all these freaking months, I was like, okay, here's the system. And then, eventually I just got back to, I'm like, okay, we're going to use the system that came in the box.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But
Fair enough.
Honestly, it's a good system. In fact, I even got the Primeval game for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And, the system is simple and it mirrors the show so excellently because it's just like, it's really just, you have your stats, you have a stat, you have your skill, roll 2d6, total it. And then beat a difficulty
all
number.
Right.
Yeah, it's straightforward, and then you can do story points, and to do the crazy stuff like, I just happen to have this, and even like gadgets. If you have a gadget, they have their own story points. So like if you have a sonic screwdriver, it has story points. You can say like that stuff that the sonic screwdriver is only supposed to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But if I spend a story point, it can all of a sudden activate a whole starship and I can pilot it, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty,
that bothers me. Just as a quick aside, that bothers me about the sonic screwdriver nowadays.
It is rather
it's kind of
the Omni tool.
It's a magic wand.
Yes,
it's a magic wand.
It's a portable Deus Machina.
Yeah. It used to be literally a screwdriver.
A screwdriver. Yeah,
and that was cool. I'm not so sure that I'm on board with this magic wand aspect. I'm hoping they tone that down with Peter Capaldi.
That's what I'm kind of hoping to.
Yeah. So that's what you're playing now. Have you played anything else?
Yeah. Of course, D&D.
Of course.
Which
edition?
All editions.
Nice. And have you ever played like superhero role playing games?
Oh yeah. Oh, don't get me started. I pretty much. I started off Marvel superheroes. The
Absolutely.
old TSR. Yes.
Still have the books.
I gave them away to a friend.
Oh.
Which hurt my soul. And then, actually, I gave the old one, like the original one, because I had the advanced one, too.
Okay, yeah.
And then what happened to the poor advanced one, when I was at University of Pittsburgh, when I was going there, I was working at a comic book store, and I had a friend, he's like, hey, I'm running a Marvel superheroes game. I'm like, oh, I have the advanced. Oh, can I borrow it? Yeah, man. And then this jackass moves to Ohio.
Oh, man.
So, there goes my game. But then I think they redid the basic set.
Yes.
And so then I started playing with some friends of mine.
Okay.
And we did that. And then, so I've had like all of those DC Heroes role-playing game. I have all editions of that.
I had a friend who had that. We never played a game of it.
It's cool.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like I'd had it for so long. The original box itself, I'm constantly tempted when I go on eBay to pick it up because I remember getting it when I was a kid. It was just a big blue box.
Yep.
George Perez art.
Yep, exactly.
You open the box, you had these big, it was just awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Overall,
it
was just an awesome game. And it's like, the truth of the matter is, like, the old box set, the rules aren't as good as, because, like, I have, like, the last edition, which is the third edition of that rule set.
Okay.
Which kind of is, like, in one book, it's really streamlined.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. I that's the thing. It's like, the more I've come along, it's like, there are all these new rule sets and all this, cute little tricks and everything's all slick. I miss the old school, just, you get a box, you open it up.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of trying to dumb it down, it feels to me.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
make it more accessible.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that.
You can't
because
do that,
the people who get obsessive, in my opinion, about role-playing games are the people you want to figure out the rules. The rules are almost 90% of it. It's more. It's not even so much about the actual playing it. Like I had plenty of games coming up that I don't think I've played more than once because I just wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to read the rules.
I just wanted to know how they worked. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm the same way because that's why I would have to say, I honestly have 3 shelves in our house just dedicated to role playing games.
Oh, that is so great.
And it's like it's kind of funny because, we're a geek family,
Fair enough.
So my wife loves to read. I read. My son reads. I love games. I love comics. So like when you come in our house, the first thing there is like I have this bookshelf taller than I am, just role-playing games. And then there's one in our bedroom, and then there's one next to me. And then it's like, my other shelf, there's comics just there and Warhammer stuff.
Warhammer? You play Warhammer?
Yes, I do play Warhammer.
40K or the original?
40K and the original.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a game convention?
I actually went to Games Day when it was last in Baltimore.
Okay.
In 2009. That was a good time. That was really enjoyable. I know in Richmond they have Ravens Con coming
They
up.
do. I have not been. It's relatively new.
Yeah, I haven't been either. I heard about it first time last year. And then this year, I know it's like the same weekend. Well, it's that Friday and Saturday, I think.
Yep.
And then Sunday is actually going to be Virginia Comic Con. So part of me was like, you know what? I'm going to go down Saturday, get some gaming on.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, work, sort of.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I mean, I would love to just go to like Gen Con or something like that.
Gen Con would be great.
Yeah. Oh, that's Mecca. I would love to go to that.
So, where are you going to be in the near future?
Where am I not going to?
Yeah, that's right. Lay it on me. I'll take it off.
I literally brought my calendar.
Okay.
Just because.
Awesome. That's great.
But
I know you already mentioned Awesome Con.
Yeah, definitely.
The Lacey's are going to be there.
Yes.
We're actually got press passes.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to be wandering around harassing people.
Cool. It's going to be. Did you go last year?
We did not.
Oh my God.
Which I guess was the first one.
Yeah, very first one, and it was, dude, it was ridiculous. It was so. It's like, last year, I went to like a lot of cons. I mean, every weekend it seemed like I was going to a con. And in April last year, I had just come back from Pittsburgh from doing Steel City, and then we had Awesome. But I mean, out of that whole year of cons, Awesome. It literally lives up to its name.
That's great.
So
That's great. So you're Awesome Con.
Yes.
And what else you got
calendar. I know basically at the end of this month, I'm going to be at the Shelf Con in Tyson's Corner.
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. Basically, Nick Schaaf, who runs the con, he's been trying to get, more artists. He basically has like a little simple artist alley, but it's great because it's like you're the only artist there.
That's great. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's great. So, but yeah, that's on the 29th. In April, basically, I'm going to be at the Annapolis Book Fair on the 5th with a group called Artway Alliance.
Okay.
Great group of guys. In fact, they're who I teach for.
Okay.
Yeah, their basic deal is they are trying to teach kids how to make comic books because there's a lot of kids. I mean, there are a lot of talented kids out there. It's ridiculous. And so what we do is we have after-school programs in art stores. We do summer camps, basically not only just taking you through the whole, like showing you can do this as a career. And the different skill sets that you learn. And even if you don't want to go into comics, it can apply elsewhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And editors. Yeah,
exactly.
Or writers. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And also how to promote yourself, market yourself, and also it's more for the parents too, just to say, hey, your kid likes to draw, he's talented. These are the options that, and the resources available that they can look for.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I can understand from what now as an adult from where my parents are like, hey, I want to draw.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what are you going to do with that? And still even today people are like, well, what are you going to do with that? So I mean, we show you this is what you can do.
That's great that you do that though. I was looking at that on your Facebook about
I mean, and they're great people. The guy who created Eric Suggs, this guy, he has a 9-to-5 job, but he's still, on weekends he is hustling for us. And
That's
he's
awesome.
like hitting like different organizations, different schools. If we're starting like at a new school, he'll go there for us.
That's so
he'll be
cool.
there with. I had to mention his name because he's the reason why I'm like at this point in my goal. I had planned on doing some teaching, and I didn't. But of course, how do I go about doing it?
Sure.
And he helped me to jump like a year ahead of what I wanted to do.
Wow, that's awesome.
And just for any artist who's listening, we're open. We want all kinds of styles, all kinds of experience, all kinds of people. Because that's part of that's part of what indie comics are. Everybody has a different style and
absolutely
experience, and
I say that all the time. There's room enough for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You just look at what's out there right now.
Yeah, really, that's the cool thing about nowadays. If you have an idea, as what I tell my kids, if you've got an idea, even if you're like, no, dude, there's a niche. You got the internet, and the internet is the greatest equalizer ever.
That is true.
Because as I tell kids, I'm like, do you have stuff on the internet? No, not really. I'm like, dude. Throw it on the internet.
Yep.
Someone will come across it.
Yep.
Millions of people are on there. There is, statistically, it's in your favor. Someone's going to hook onto it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you say, even if it's a slow burn.
Yeah, even if it's slow.
People will stumble onto it.
Exactly.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Exactly.
It's true. It's
Exactly.
true.
And let's see what else. I know Tidewater is coming up on the 12th. Tidewater Comic-Con. I know the Lacey's mentioned that.
Yes, indeed.
I was going to go, but I kind of need a break before Awesome Con, which I'm going to be at all 3 days.
Fair enough.
And then I'm going to be at Virginia Comic-Con on the 27th of April.
Absolutely. Where we will be as well.
And then in May, I actually have May planned out somewhat.
Okay.
A&S Con on the 10th. I know they mentioned that. That's here in La Plata.
Yes.
Yes. Archbishop Neal's school. Tom Boone is the guy who started it.
Okay.
I mean, just out of nowhere, basically they did it as a fundraiser the first year.
Okay.
And I was like, that's cool for, a school to say, hey, you can run a con in our gym.
That is really awesome.
Yeah. And so, I went because I was like, oh, that's cool. One, it's 10 minutes away. You can't beat that for con travel.
Absolutely.
You just roll out of bed and go to a con.
Right.
But, I just to support the idea and just, because, just to, I live in this area and just so people can say, hey, oh, you live in Waldorf. Yeah. I live in this area and I'm a comic book artist, but I mean, the con is really good. It's enjoyable. It's fun. Sci-fi.
Awesome. Is that the sci-fi one?
Yeah, that's the sci-fi one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But there's going to be a lot of artists there too. A lot of toy vendors, lots of sci-fi panels and stuff. It's just a fun day. I mean, it's awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. How many people would you say attend?
Oh my God. I say like what? Like 5,000 or more? 3,000?
Wow, that is.
Yeah, I mean, when it opens, I mean, you have just people coming in because the cool thing is this area, Southern Maryland, I mean, there are a lot of people in Southern Maryland area who love comics and stuff like that. And really, there's House of Pop Culture in Pinefield.
Okay.
Comics MD, which is on 925, is on the back road.
Okay.
And then to hit another comic book shop, you got to go like 45 minutes down.
Oh, wow.
To St. Mary's to go to Larry's Comics Cafe.
Okay.
And then other than that, then you got the ones that people know about, Third Eye and all that.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people around here who love magic, comics, role-playing, that type of stuff. And there's no outlet, unless because a lot of people don't know about the cons that go on. That's why Awesome Con was so huge.
Absolutely.
And, a lot of people are now going down to Richmond for the VA Comic-Con.
Yeah, which is so nice.
Yeah.
And WizardCon's coming, too. Just another plug for the Richmond area.
Plug for Richmond area. I have to admit, though, it's like as many times I keep going down to Richmond, because we used to go down to Hopewell to see a friend of ours, that area is growing on me.
It's, you know what? It's a
neat.
super cool city.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, this city is really cool.
It really is.
And it's like we listen to the radio station down there.
Okay.
Because I don't know if anyone from DC 101 here. DC 101 sucks.
All right, fair enough.
That's a given. And so we don't listen to the rock station like in our area. We listen to like 98 Rock, and we listen to the one down in Richmond.
Oh, okay.
And just like hearing all the stuff that's going on, it's like, dude, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there really is. It's a really pretty hip city.
Yeah.
They're really, and I think having VCU right in
there,
the middle of downtown really keeps things energized.
Yeah.
But it's a cool city. And, it's like you're saying, there's a strong comic culture. There's a strong, like, magic playing culture. There's all that stuff. But there's just no solidifying force.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the popularity of VA Con's coming from is that all these people who have kind of pent up.
Yeah, they want to do,
finally, we can do this thing.
Yeah, especially people who cosplay,
Absolutely.
Like, other than, honestly, unless you have a party, hang out with friends, especially like, in these areas, you could probably get away with it, but I know like around here, you're not going to get away with that.
Yeah.
I
Fair
mean,
enough.
not even just to sound like, you geeks, you can't, but I mean, it's just the way an area is.
Yeah.
And like, unless it's like, a con, which is where you can just be yourself and enjoy being there.
Right.
And I mean, that's the awesome thing about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, it's one of the reasons we started the podcast sincerely is because, there's a large contingent of youth, with the VCU and who are hip to podcasts. And we really wanted a way to kind of put it out there. Be like, look, there's a voice, we can do this. We can all, if we all pull together, we can do this.
And that's kind of like, the thing I like to do. Cause like, a lot of these kids that I teach, they love comics. On occasion they get to go to the comic book store because I can understand that when I was a kid.
Sure.
If you don't have a comic store near you, Because I remember when we first moved up here, I got kind of lucky because there was like Blue Beetle Comics and Zap Comics, and they were like actually in the shopping areas my mom would go. So I'd be like, hey, can I run down and go to the comic book place? But a lot of these kids don't have that because there are not too many closed stores.
Yeah.
And then at the same time there are these cons going on, and they might hear whispers of it, but they don't know anything of it. And there's a lot of kids who are like, oh, I'd love to go to a con who've never been.
True.
Yeah, and so it's just saying, hey, this con's coming up, and they just tell their parents, and parents are like, okay, and they go, and they have fun.
And no one's judgy. No one's looking to be like, oh, that's what you like.
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's what that's about. So what do you got coming up in May?
Oh, like I said, A&S Con, I'm going to be there, and then there's a 3-day con called X-Con.
Okay.
X-Con is in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach.
Okay, sounds great.
It honestly, it's a fun con.
Fair enough.
It's a fun con. It's 3 days. You're in Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely.
And really laid back. And we started going a while ago for my wife because, like I said, she's a writer, and her publisher had sent her one year. And, it was at the time, it was like kind of small. Big cosplay group, in that area, it's amazing how many, there's lots of cosplayers, lots of people into gaming and comics and all that.
That's awesome.
And so you had a really young crowd. And so the next year, when I was actually doing this as, going to shows, legitimately,
right.
I was like, hey, let's try X-Con out again. And so it's been pretty fun to go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
and it's comics, sci-fi?
Comics,
both?
sci-fi, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like that mix. Wrestling, yeah, because, oh, my God, last year was awesome. Because the way... we come in and they have this big open area because they got a much bigger space this time, in a
okay,
and at the convention center.
All right.
So I'm like, dude, what the hell are they gonna do with that big open area? Then these guys come in, they start setting up a wrestling ring.
Oh,
and I'm like,
way.
are you kidding me? And so this local independent wrestling group, they just are doing matches there.
Oh wow!
And it was awesome. And they had some guys come in doing cosplay dressed like Batman, and they have Batman versus Bane.
No way! That is great.
And yes, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever, but it was just awesome.
Well, they should do that at every comic event. Very seriously.
I know. I'm like, dude, because I was just sitting there. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Wrestling and comics.
Heck yeah.
It's perfect.
And the character, oh my God, the characters.
Yeah,
I would totally watch that. I'm not a huge wrestling guy. I would totally watch that.
Exactly. I'm like, this is perfect.
Watching Superman, Batman actually duke it out.
Actually duke it out,
would
yeah.
be awesome.
But yeah, so it was great. It's great. It's a fun con, and it's just, but I mean, last year, I was doing a lot of cons just to see. It was almost like an endurance test to see how many I can do and to see, basically get an idea of, what cons,
Sure.
But this year I'm kind of, because I'm teaching more, so I'm trying to cut back. But it's hard because I love going to the cons, man.
That's cool. And and so you don't have anything booked past May.
Not really. I mean, stuff comes up.
Yeah.
But I know, with the Artway Alliance, we have a couple of summer camps coming up. And I'm going to be involved with that. So this year, like I said, I'm trying to focus on, doing the teaching thing. And then probably just like last year, towards the fall, we're going to start, going out again.
Yeah.
And, because that's when all those shows are. But for the most part, most of my year this year, the goal is, the teaching thing and also getting these books that I'm working on done. Because I really want, because a lot of people have been asking for Zoe.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, and so I want to get that done. I want to get the Repellers done. I just want to get more momentum back on that. And even though I enjoy going to the shows, I know I need to focus on, like they say, what brought you to the dance. And so
yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty much my goal.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you have your Facebook?
Have my Facebook,
which is
www.facebook.com Apocrypha Comics Studio.
Right.
And that basically has where I'm going to be. I post art there on a regular basis.
Yep.
And then also I have the in the About section, you can find out where Fallen Angels is being sold, as well as my sketchbook, because it leads you to the store there.
Absolutely. And you're on Tumblr?
Yes, I am on Tumblr, and that's Elder Scribbles.
Elder Scribbles.
Yes.
Okay. So the Elder God Usher, that's not...
Elder God Usher, or you know what? Let me check my
because the one I've been looking at is Elder God Usher.
Yeah, that actually works.
Okay, all right, okay.
It's like Elder Scribbles, I think, is the actual name of the.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Trying to be witty.
Listen, that is pretty much like all of our time.
Okay, dude. Well,
So I had an awesome time.
dude, I had a wonderful time.
This was the best, for
Definitely.
reals. And I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming cons.
Oh, I will
And
definitely be there.
Please, anytime you got free or you ever got anything to plug, let us know.
Okay, cool.
Come back and talk to us.
Thank you, sir.
This would be
Thank you.
great, and I'd love to have Harold with us.
Oh, yeah.
Next time.
Dude, I definitely want to meet Harold because...
Yeah, he is hysterical.
But no, I mean...
He's the best.
I just want to thank you guys. And like I said, I've enjoyed your podcast. So
Oh, thanks, man.
I've definitely been, hyping you guys up to people.
Oh, that's awesome. I will say that we've had a spike in downloads lately, so I
Awesome,
will
awesome.
attribute that directly to you. Thank you.
Oh.
So,
I like
all right,
being
man.
attributed.
All right. So, yeah, thanks again.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right. If you enjoy the podcast, don't forget to like us on Facebook, where you can find us as Full Grown Fanboys, or to follow us on Twitter as @FullGrownFanboy. That's fanboy with no S. Also, be sure to subscribe to our RSS